listening to Good Morning Gwinnett, a division of Noise Media Network, hosted by Audrey Bell-Kearney, sharing stories about people and places around beautiful Gwinnett County and beyond. Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Southern living at its best.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, all my Gwinnetians out there in Gwinnett land and all of my friends around the world. It's a rainy day here in Georgia. 63 degrees, going up to a high of 72, and it's going to rain all day. It's going to rain today, tomorrow. It's going to be nice on Thursday. It's going to rain again on Friday and Saturday. So it's going to rain. It's going to be a rainy day here in Georgia. But listen, we can't complain because somewhere in the world they need rain and they don't have rain. So we won't complain. We won't complain. Hey, today is Talk Business Tuesday, and I'm going to continue my discussion about newsletters. I'm so excited about newsletters and not only newsletters, but marrying the newsletter to the podcast and the community news site. I'm just having a great time. And I think the more I think about it, the more excited I get about it. But I want to share my excitement with you. And today I'm talking about, starting your local newsletter and why I think that's important. Also, I'm hosting a free webinar this Sunday at 3:00. It's free. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just love the space that I'm in. I love this community space that I'm in. I love being able to bring on community leaders on the podcast. I love to be able to spotlight community power players. I love to be able to be a voice of the community. I love it. I love it so much. And so I want you to be able to do the same thing. And so we're going to talk about a little bit about the webinar and what you're going to learn in the webinar, because that's important too. Some of the things you're going to learn in the webinar, but I want to first talk about, starting your own local newsletter. So when I first started Good Morning Gwinnett, I started Good Morning Gwinnett because I didn't know, I was new into town and I wanted to do something. I had thought about going into politics, and I spent about 6 months, working with politicians, only to realize it's not my thing. I was like, it's not my thing because you have to be too censored all the time. And me personally, I don't do good with being censored. I don't do good with, with all the eyeballs, critics. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, because in business, people criticize you just as much, right? But when you're in the political arena, you got so many people criticizing you because you live a very public life when you're in politics. You could live a very public life as a business owner, and then you may not, right? But for me, it was like, yeah, not only that, I didn't like all of the, it was so much stuff that went on that I just didn't understand and didn't like. Inside party fighting. You're fighting one party, you're fighting your own party. It was too much. Anyway, I decided that I wanted to do something else. So what I did was I thought about this podcast, and I was like, my mom used to watch Good Morning America every morning. And every morning when I would go and sit to talk to her, she'd be watching Good Morning America. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast. It's going to be called Good Morning Gwinnett, right? And I've been doing Good Morning Gwinnett almost 6 years. December the 18th will be 6 years. And so I've been doing it for a long time, and I love doing it. This is why I do it every day. This is why I get up and talk to you guys on a monthly basis. I've done almost 1,100 episodes, I think. So, and that's a good thing. That has given me a lot of leverage, y'all. A lot of leverage. But here's the thing. I own my voice, right? I own the show that I've done. I own the recordings. I own those. But I don't own the list of people that listen to me. I don't own that. So I can't, unless I get on here and talk to them today and they decide they want to listen today, I don't know who they are. When you start a newsletter, you get to own the email to that person. You know their name. You may know their last name. You get to know that. Not only that, when you think about starting a local community newspaper, you get to know your audience even better, and they really get to know you. People know me from Good Morning Gwinnett. I was in a breakfast meeting last week, and a former state senator was there. And it was funny because I was like, I'm known in this world as a podcast person, right? People that know me as podcasting. He's like, we sure do, which was funny. He typed in podcast lady in Gwinnett County, and my podcast popped up. And everybody in the room, it was a packed room, was like, wow, that's the power of media. But I feel like newsletters can be even more powerful because you get the opportunity to collect emails and names of people, that, and you own that list. You own those names. And so that's why I decided to give this free webinar. And I know I could charge. I get that. I could charge for it. It's going to be a great webinar, and it's going to be live. You can ask me questions. I know I can charge for that. I don't want to charge for it. I want to, and I thought about charging. I even had a link where it was a paid thing where you can charge. And then I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't want to charge. I woke up this morning because my first thought was, I'm not going to charge. Then I was like, well, I don't want people not to show up. I'm wasting my time. Then my second thought was, Audrey, don't charge. Don't charge. Give it away for free and help people start their own local digital newsletter. Now, I feel like in the day and age in which we live, it's so many false narratives that are being put out to the world. I'm telling you guys, I'm in this space all day long. I'm looking at tech. I'm talking about tech all day long. The technology, the quality of the technology that is being produced is going to trick some people. It's already doing it. It's already tricking folks. So if you want your community to have real news, like you're a person of integrity and you want to be a community partner, you want them to have real authentic community news, you might have to be the person that say, you know what? I got to put out real authentic community news. Now, I can tell you this. We have a magazine here called Gwinnett Magazine. We have the Gwinnett Daily Post. That's a news site, kind of like my news site, but my news site doesn't focus on just news. It focuses a lot on business, technology, and community. And I did that intentionally because they already put out the news. I don't need to put out the same regurgitated news as they're putting out. I don't want to put out bad news. So I decided I want to focus on tech and business. I do put out a little news, but it's mostly local government news, or it's local, like something about somebody's doing something news. Like I put out that type of news, but I don't put out murders. I don't do sports, which is kind of weird. I should do some sports because I do like sports. But I try to stick more to lifestyle, cooking, and health and that kind of stuff. And I try to stick more to business and technology. So Good Morning Gwinnett for me, and I had to think about this. It had to be, I wanted it to be more of a community business tech kind of newsletter. News site with some local news versus who got shot today, who went to jail today, who did fraud today. I didn't want that. We have enough of that, and that's not what I wanted. Gwinnett Magazine, it kind of gives you, and it's a print magazine, and it's a newsletter, but it kind of just gives you like a little bit about what's going on in business. My only thing with them is that sometimes it could be kind of one-sided, like you can only see certain type of businesses, and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't do it. So I just decided that I wanted my news site to be something different, focused mostly on business and technology with a little bit of hint of local government news and a little bit of hint of lifestyle. So that was my premise. With my newsletter, Gwinnett Morning Spark, I wanted it to be something where people could feel like they open it up at 6 a.m. and they can either laugh, they can click on the button and listen to the song and sing the song. That's what I wanted. I wanted that kind of thing. And so I wanted them to find out good news about, fun facts about Gwinnett County. I wanted them to find out, people who are successful, doing great things in our community. So I got the, success lives here. That's our motto. We got a big old water tank thing. When you drive down, I think it's certain parts of 316, you'll see a big old thing that says success lives here, right? That's what it says. And so I wanted to spotlight people in the community and show that success lives here. I wanted to give fun facts. I wanted to have an ad space at the bottom for local businesses to advertise their business. So it was that type of stuff. So I wanted to be a partner in my community, but in my own way. Politics wasn't it for me. So that's why I'm giving this free webinar because, and I think I put the link in the description of the show. If not, I'll go back and make sure I edit it and drop the link. It's free. It's this Sunday at 3 p.m. 3 p.m. to 4:30. That's all it really takes for me to explain to you what to do, how to do it, what platform I'm using, all that good stuff. Now, you can follow along with your computer. Put me on the phone, and then you follow along with the computer. So that way you can kind of get a jump start on everybody. But I wanted to be able to do that because I feel like, you can be a voice in your community. You know, if you want to focus on, you know, local issues that nobody's talking about, this is a great opportunity for that. Now, I'm going to tell you, when you start to do this, especially if you put a picture in your newsletter, people are going to know who you are. They're going to know you. So and we're living in some crazy times right now. So if you're going to talk about local issues, you're going to be disrespecting folks, and you put your picture and name in your newsletter, people will see you. And they would see you in the grocery store, and they're like, "Aren't you that?" I was at the Rose Jordan Park, which is one of our beautiful parks in Gwinnett County, and I'm walking, and they had an event, and I'm walking through the park. Now I'm walking past the table. I don't know this guy. He knows me. He goes, "Wait a minute, good morning, Gwinnett." And I'm like, "Hey, hi, yeah, that's you, that's me." It was so crazy, y'all, and. You know, he listens to the show. He works in the sheriff's office. It was hilarious. And I was like, wow. So people will recognize you. I'll give you another prime example of something. I had someone who come to me. I had launched a program called Podcasting Co-host Program. It was because a lot of people want to do podcasts. They don't want to do it alone. They're afraid of their voice. They don't know what to say. All of these different things. So my goal was to remove all of that by pairing them up with a co-host. So I had about 4 or 5 people who wanted to be co-hosts. If you wanted to do a podcast, you came up, you signed up, and then I paired you with a co-host. You got to interview all the co-hosts, and then you said, okay, I want to work with this one. So I did that, and the young lady, she went through the interviews with the co-host. She picked the co-host that she wanted to work with her. You know, she told me her podcast was going to be about one thing, and what I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. When she talked to the co-host, she told the co-host something totally different. So the co-host came back to me and said, yeah, I can't do that podcast with her. And I'm like, why? So she told me why. And so the things that she wanted to talk about were things that could really put her in danger because they were so defensive. Not defensive. They were so, what's the word I'm looking for? They were bad. I think it is defensive. They were bad because they were really shining a light on things that, and not even shining a light. They were really like adding ugliness to something that people struggle with. And I was like, so when the show co-host told me, she's like, I can't do the show. I can't do that show with her. Like, that's going to put us both in danger. Right. So I went back to her and I said, listen, that's not what you told me. That you didn't say that's what you wanted to do. It was supposed to be this type of show. And I can tell you from experience that when you do, this is media, y'all. What I'm going to talk about on the webinar on Sunday is media. And I'm not saying all this stuff to scare you, but I need you to understand, yes, you can do a good thing, but if you want to get on there and put in stuff that, you know, that cause you harm when you're in public, you might want to think about that. Now, I'm not saying be a punk. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying understand your community, right? And understand that if you start to put out community news or community talk or whatever it is, if it's offensive, that's the word I was looking for. It's just offensive to people, and you see those people in public, they could do something crazy. So I said to her, look, I understand you want to talk about what you want to talk about. That's fine. But the co-host is not comfortable with doing that because, you know, they feel like you're going to put both of them in danger when they're out in the public. Because people can go and click on Good Morning Gwinnett and they'll see all of my shows. Sometimes they'll see my picture, sometimes they won't. But if they click up my name, they can easily Google me. I'm very Googleable, right? I said, so that could put you in harm's way, and I would not want anything harmful to happen to you. Now, people get on these shows, on these YouTube channels, and they say whatever. They really do. And the people that talk most trash got the most money, so they can hire protection when they go out in public. Let me say that again. The people that talk the most trash probably have the most money. So when they go out in public, they got bodyguards. They're not just out there floating around willy-nilly without bodyguards. Because they talk a lot of trash, they offend a lot of people, and so people know them. They're very visible. Their brands are out there. If that's you, that's fine. But what you don't want to do is put yourself in harm's way. So for me, definitely use these platforms as a way to get your message out there, but also be cognizant of your community and your surroundings and understanding what you're going to put out to the world. Okay, so I'm going to come back. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what to expect on on Sunday and why I laid my newsletter out the way I did it. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So my song today is called Reflections. Y'all know I put a song in my newsletter every morning that goes out to my list of people. And listen, if you have not subscribed to the Gwinnett Morning Spark and you need to be inspired every day, Monday through Friday, go to GwinnettMorningspark.com. Gwinnett, that's GWINNETT, morningspark.com. GwinnettMorningspark.com. This song is called Reflections. It's the new one for today, so stay tuned. I'll be right back after this song to give you more of why I'm starting this newsletter webinar on Sunday. Stay tuned.
Wake up to the sunshine. It's a brand new day. Got my heart light, and I'm feeling okay. Look in the mirror, see a smile so bright. Reflections in my eyes like stars at night. Every moment's a chance to redefine. Turn the negatives around, make the positive shine. Gonna dance through the shadows, find the silver line. With my head held high, I'm doing just fine. Reflections of joy, reflections of light. Dancing through life, feeling alright. Reflections of dreams that we chase so far, shining so bright like the morning star. Coffee in hand, step up out the door. The world's a canvas, can't wait to explore. Each reflection, a story to be told. Silver linings and futures bold. Turn the page on yesterday, new tales to write. With every reflection, life's a journey, not a destination. In every mirror, there's a celebration. Reflections of joy, reflections of light. Dancing through life, feeling alright. Reflections of dreams that we chase so far, shining so bright like the morning star. Shining so bright like the morning star. So here's to the reflections in every way. The light of our past and brightening our day. Embrace every reflection of the making this beautiful life. This way and play.
Welcome back. Listen, that's my song Reflections. Let me tell y'all something. I'm having so much fun doing the newsletter. I'm having really a lot of fun doing the songs. Like, I think the songs motivate me to do the newsletter. Because I get there, I sit there and I make songs. And if you come on the webinar on Sunday, it's free. The webinar is free. If you come on this webinar on Sunday and you want me to talk about why I put songs in my newsletter or how I put the songs in the newsletter, you need to be in the class. It's a free webinar. So go. I'm going to drop the link to the web. I think I dropped it in the show notes. But if I didn't, I'm going to drop the links in the show notes after the show. Click the link to register for the webinar. It is free. Check out Gwinnett Morning Spark so you can see my newsletter. You can see the layout. I'll talk about why I decided to do it the way I do it. Subscribe to the newsletter so you can see it on your phone because you may have questions about it. You may have questions about why I laid it out the way I laid it. How does it look the way it looks on the website versus why it looks the way it looks on your phone? All of these things I'm going to talk about, but I can only tell you that if you're in the room, and it's free. I'm not selling anything at the end of the webinar. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just simply giving you a platform and giving you what I'm doing with my newsletter. It's free. All right, so check it out. All right, so now Here's why. So I'm leaning, I want you to start a newsletter, right? You may be a sports enthusiast. You may be a business coach. You may just want to highlight your community. But the one thing I could tell you is that on the local level, you get to do a lot of stuff with your media, right? With this show, I get to talk about what's happening locally. I get to bring on local power players. I get to bring on people that are not local to introduce them to the local communities. I get a lot. I get to do a lot. The same thing goes with your newsletter. The difference between the podcast and the newsletter is that you can get people to write articles for your newsletter. People who like to write, and you can find people that go to the library. People who like to write and read, they normally are at the library. Go to the library and put out information. You can do that. You can do that. And people will write for you. They may have opinion pieces. They may have creative writing. You can you can start you can create stories about your community. And I'm giving this away. Think about your community, right? Think about the streets, the main streets in your community. So let's say I live in Lawrenceville, right? If I wanted to create a whole narrative around Krogan Street, it could be called the Krogan Street Chronicles. And I can just make up stuff. And everybody that knows Krogan Street in Lawrenceville, like, oh my God, that's so amazing. But that's fun. That's inspiring. Or you can call it could be the Krogan Street Mysteries, right? What happened on Krogan Street? It could be whatever you want it to be. But the thing about it is you can be as creative as you want it to be. Now, as I'm sitting here talking to y'all, I'm feeling a little like, wait a minute. I just gave out a $1 million idea. But when you think about that, think about the power of words. Think about the power of media. Think about you putting out good media. Think about you putting out entertaining media. Whether it's a podcast or a newsletter or a news site or a blog post, whatever. Think about that. And think about it on the local level. Like for me, I could have, and I've had podcasts that, Talk Business with Audrey. That's a global podcast, right? But I like this podcast because it's community. I like Gwinnett Morning Spark. I could have named it just the Morning Spark, which I have that name. Like I own the domain name, the Morning Spark, right? And I was like, no, I wanted to be more centrally so I can go out and promote it. Because there are 1 million people in Gwinnett County. Over a million people. We have over 33,000 businesses in Gwinnett County. We're the second largest county in the state of Georgia. We are the 11th largest county, I think, or diverse county in the country. So I really can do all of my things in my backyard. Now, that being said, if you don't live in a county that large, it still does not mean you can't go and make a good living. Now, you got to set a goal for yourself, and we're going to talk about all this on the webinar. When you decide what kind of newsletter that you want to create, you got to figure out what kind, right? What kind, how often, all that stuff. And we're going to talk about that on Sunday. But I want you to think about this today and tomorrow. Do I want to start a local newsletter? If I do, why? Am I trying to monetize that? Are you trying to make money? Who would pay for it? How could you make money? Right? Things like that. And I'm going to go deep into that on Sunday. Why, how? I don't care where you're living in the world. You live in a community somewhere. Even if you live in the bush, there is a bush. Listen, I know there's a bush community because I used to watch the Alaskan bush people, and they had their community of people all living in the bush. They could have a newsletter just about living in the motherfucking bush because they lived in the bush with bush people. When I say bush, they were called the Alaskan bush people because they lived in Alaska off the grid. They ate what they caught. They lived a rough life. I was like, ooh-wee. And it's cold in Alaska, but they loved Alaska. And now I can tell you the one thing I would love about Alaska, them daggone crabs, they just go and fish in my, I was like, wow, that's amazing. I'm talking about the real snow crabs, Alaskan real snow crabs. Anyway, I digress. When you think about starting a community newsletter, it's a platform for local voices, right? You can get guest people, you can get people to contribute articles, you can talk about local issues, you can get your youth engaged, I remember I had a magazine, and I asked the young people at one of the high schools, I was a mentor, to write articles for the magazine, and they did, because they have stories to tell too. You can even help your kids start a digital newsletter. I'm telling you, the power in media. Look at TV. If you don't understand the power in media, just turn your TV on. Turn your radio on. You think it's just there for your entertainment? No, it's business. And it's a powerful business. You can become a power player in your space. If you're a business coach, you want to start a newsletter. Let's say you're a business coach and you coached on nothing but how to launch a product, right? How to launch a physical product. That's your thing. How to launch a physical product. I'm sure that you could come up with 52 topics, probably 500 topics on launching and growing a product-based business. I know you could, because I've done it. Georgette and I have launched a product-based business that was manufactured in China. It was an idea in my head. I took it and had it put on paper. We took the paper and had it put in clay. We took the clay and had it put in wax. We took the wax and sent it to China. Then we had to listen. I know you can, because I could. If I wanted to start a newsletter right now about that process, I could. And I could put it in a newsletter and never run out of topics. You know why? Because people are still trying to manufacture products. Here's the other thing. When you do something like that, there are questions that people have asked you, and you have the answer to it. You put that in the newsletter as a segment, or the entire newsletter. Go look at Gwinnett Morning Spark. See how I laid out my newsletter. Yours does not have to be laid out that way. Mine is not laid out like most people. There are some that are just packed with news. I'm talking about packed. It's a 25-minute read. That's not mine. Mine is a quick read at 6 o'clock because you got to go to work, or you got to start your day. You got to get the kids ready. It's a quick, probably 5-minute read. Listen to the song. The song is probably the longest thing in there because it's like 2 to 3 minutes. Listen to the song, get motivated, keep it going. That was intentional. You may have a lot to say. You may be a poet. You just want to share your poetry. Now, here's the thing about that. If you are a poet and you want to share your poetry, you can put that in written format in your newsletter. You can tell why this poem inspired you. You can also take that same song, clone your voice, and turn it into a podcast episode. You don't want to miss the webinar on Sunday. Whatever questions you ask me about this space that I live in, I've been in media for 24 years. Radio, TV, magazines, newspaper, newsletters, probably longer than that, because the first newsletter I did was 1994. So I've been in media for a long time, and it was paper. It was on paper, by the way. It wasn't digital. It was on paper. Then I started Constant Contact in digital. So you want to be in that class on Sunday. It is a free class. I am not selling anything. It's open to the public. I'm going to put the link in the description in a minute after the show is over. I think I did, but just in case I didn't, I'm putting it in there so you can register and get on the list, because it's that important, y'all. It's that important, and you can have a lot of fun, and you can make a lot of money. There are newsletters that were started and they sold for like $70 million, $100 million. Yes, I'm talking about like that kind of money. Like even this morning when I woke up, I have one advertising plan in my newsletter, and I realized I did it wrong. I'm like, that's wrong. I had to go back. I got to go back and change that because because I kept saying, how I know? Because one guy, he has a local newsletter, and it's called Naptown Scoop, and his newsletter make $340,000 a year. I'm like, how is that possible? I couldn't figure it out, so I hit him up on Instagram. He didn't answer me back. Like, hey, how are you making this kind of money? Anyway, I figured it out this morning as if like lightning. I'm like, oh, I'm doing the monetization wrong. So I had to change that. And I got to go into my newsletter and change that on my advertising page. Because now I see how he was making that kind of money. I'm like, oh, that's how he's making that kind of money. He's making great money. And he has a local newsletter. And his town has like 45,000 people that live in it. He has like 15,000 subscribed to his newsletter. He makes a lot of money. And he's a celebrity in his community. That's why I'm telling you, the power that this has is so powerful. So powerful. So anyway, I think I put the link in the description. If not, give me about 10 minutes after the show is over. I'm going to drop the link in the description. I'm also going to put an article on Good Morning Gwinnett website about starting your own newsletter. You can click that article. There'll be a link in that description as well. So just in case you missed the podcast, I'm going to put a link on Good Morning Gwinnett, and as soon as the show is over, I'm going to go and put the article up there. I'm going to put the link to the actual webinar on Sunday so you can register for that, okay? So check that out. It's free. Free 99. Free. So anyway, think about why you want to start a newsletter. Think about, how it can serve you and your community and your business and your children, your family. You can start a family newsletter. How about that? I know one of my friends, they have a family newsletter. And I love their family because they're so tight. Even when they're arguing, they're still tight. They go on family vacations together. They have a family newsletter, which I think that is so cool. Now it's going to require you to, and I could probably do a family newsletter, which would probably be kind of dope. Actually, we got a family chat, so everything goes inside the family chat. Nothing goes into the. Here's the thing: my family probably won't check their emails. That would be the problem. But you can start a family newsletter. If you have a really engaged family, or you trying to bring your family together, can you imagine, having a newsletter and people learning about this family member they didn't even know they had, or this kid did that, and like my granddaughter is graduating on Saturday. That could be in a newsletter, but we put everything in the group chat because we got a family group chat. But if we wanted to put it in a newsletter and make it more formal, we could. And guess what? You can sell family t-shirts in the newsletter and monetize. The family tree in the newsletter. I have a t-shirt. We did a family reunion. It has our family tree on it. I'm like, that's so cool. Now I think I might want to take my family tree and put it on a poster and put it in my house. Oh, I might just want to put it on a t-shirt. So things like that. It's just so many things you can do. I want you to be able to hear my story a little bit more. I'll go in depth. I'll answer your questions. It's free. I want you to think about the power that you have. And I'm not. And this is not power from an arrogant perspective. This is power from a perspective of getting the word out about what it is you're doing, getting your message out. Sharing information about your community. That type of power. It's a powerful, because right now, news is popping up everywhere. We don't know if it's true or not. Videos are popping up everywhere. They're so freaking good, you don't know if they're true or not. You just don't know. You don't know what's real and what's not real. But if you're putting out good news from your perspective and you're trying to make the community, your state, your country, the world a better place, and it's coming from you and people that know and love you, like, okay, this came from George. We know George is a good guy, so it must be cool. Now, if you're a piece of trash, George, don't put out trash. I'm just saying. Because George can be a piece of trash trying to deceive the community. Don't do that, George. Karma is going to come back to bite you, and then you know what? Don't do that, George. But if you know you're a good person, Sally, and you want to put out this newsletter because you want your community to know about crocheting, and you want them to come to your local meetup about crocheting, and you're trying to build a community in your community around crocheting, and you put out this newsletter about the best crocheting tips, come on, man. I'm telling y'all, nothing like it. I can say this too. As much as we love technology, it's changing so rapidly. I feel like it's forcing us to go back into person, to go back into meeting in person again. I feel like it's forcing us to meet face to face because so much false information is out there. It's nuts. And it's getting better, and it's getting to the point where it's so real. It's scary. And I like tech, but it's scary. It's scary. All right, I'm going to go to my last song. Then I'm going to come back and give you my word of inspiration for today. So stay tuned. I'll be right back after this song.
I ran away from heartbreak. Got nothing in return for my pain. I never thought I'd be so empty, so alone and afraid. Wasn't looking for a lover. Nobody understood where I've been. I guess I thought I needed more time to protect my love from potential offense. So I then you came around and you but I shut it down. So you took it to and I'm not surprised by what I found, 'cause I know I needed something different and it had to be you. Out the blue, somebody who would listen, and it had to be you. Out of all the people to reply, my love couldn't be just anyone. My baby, it had to be you. I didn't seem to notice that you were checking for me. We were just friends. started building trust and my fragile heart started to mend. Yeah. I should have paid attention. You would have been the obvious choice, but I needed time to see clearly, dig deep and cut through the noise. So then you came around and you played it cool, but so you took your time and I opened up. I'm not surprised by what I found, 'cause I know I needed something different and it had to be you. Out the blue, somebody who would listen and it had to be you. Out of all the people to revive my love, couldn't be just anyone. But baby, it had to be you, you.
Welcome back. So listen, guys, that's all I got for you today. But I want to give you some words of inspiration. And it's something that I'm just thinking about. Sometimes you have to just step out on faith. Sometimes you have to ask God for the answers and know that he's going to give them to you and just step out on faith. You know, when I say entrepreneurship and all the things I do are easy, they're not. They're very difficult most of the time. But they keep me going. They keep me young. They keep me young at heart. They stress me out too. Don't get it twisted. But I walk by faith, and I've been walking by faith for a very long time. I walk by faith for my marriage. I walk by faith for my business. I walk by faith for my partnerships. Have they been easy? They have not always been easy. Have I struggled in some of those areas? A lot. But I decided to step out on faith and keep moving. You have to step out on faith and keep moving. Somebody is listening to me right now, and they're saying, man, that sounds like it's a really good idea to start a newsletter. But they're afraid. They're afraid, oh my God, what if I don't have the time? Oh my God, what if I don't know what to say? Oh my God, am I going to make money? Oh my God, what would people say? I'm telling you, if your gut and your heart is working together in your head, and it's saying, you got this message because you were supposed to be here listening to me and got this message. That's why you're here. This is not a coincidence that you're hearing my voice saying, hey, start a newsletter. That's not a coincidence. And you've been thinking about that. And somebody goes, oh my God, I can't believe she's talking about this today. You just happen to be tuning in today. That's not a coincidence. You have to step out on faith and at least try. Nothing beats a failure but an absolute try. That's it. And if you fail, oh well, you fail. Guess what that is? That's not a failure. That's an experience. It's an experience to learn. It's an experience to grow. But you would not do any of those if you don't take a step. You would not do any of those if you don't just walk by faith. None of that. You won't have those experiences. So that's all I want to tell you. Hey, listen, thank you for being here. You could be anywhere in the world, but you spent the last 38 minutes with me, and I love and appreciate you for that. If you miss any episodes of the show, be sure to go to goodmorninggwinnett.com to listen to past episodes. Check out my newsletter, GwinnettMorningspark.com, GwinnettMorningspark.com, GwinnettMorningspark.com. Check it out. I love doing it. Reflections was my song of the day. I have a new song tomorrow for today. What's tomorrow? Wednesday? Yeah, I have a new song tomorrow. Subscribe to the newsletter. You'll get it every morning in your inbox at 6 a.m. Make sure to whitelist it so it doesn't go to your spam folder, okay? Also, the Gwinnett Women's Chamber is having an event this Friday. If you want to learn how to be a tech founder and start a tech business, but you're afraid of tech, again, you don't know anything about coding, you don't want to miss our workshop, our tech talk for this month. The young lady is going to be there. Her name is Cree Robinson. She's going to be talking to you about how to become a tech founder, even if you don't know technology, even if you're not tech savvy, even if you're not a techie, because you don't need to know how to code. I'm telling y'all, technology is changing the games. It's changing the game. Even you can be a tech founder and don't know how to write one iota of code. They have software that will write the code for you. Oh my God, it's crazy. You want to be in that room. So go to GwinnettWomen'sChamber.com to find out more information. Click on the events tab. You'll find all of the events. Her event is there. Register and join us on Friday at 12 o'clock. All right. I'll be back again tomorrow at 10 a.m. God willing. You guys stay safe out there. And until next time, my friends, until next time, make it a great day. Bye, y'all.
You've been listening to Good Morning Gwinnett. Make sure to tune in Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time to find out what's happening around Gwinnett. If you like this episode, subscribe now and share with your friends. To learn more about Noise Media Network, visit noisemedia.us.